Let's move on to a completely different subject, and that is vegan meals in schools. Maybe you think actually all schools should sign up to this because it's good for the planet, it's good for the children, it's good for everybody. If schools take meat off the menu, how can that be a bad thing? Or maybe you feel very differently about it indeed. A new campaign group is hoping to persuade the London Mayor to sign up to their treaty to serve vegan meals in schools. Haywards Heath Council have become the first town in Europe to sign up to the plant-based treaty, aimed at encouraging people to stop eating meat to help save the planet, and they hope that other areas will follow. Joining me on the programme, Nicola Harris from the Plant-Based Treaty. Hello, Nicola, good morning.
Morning, Vanessa.
All right, first of all, what is the Plant-Based Treaty? We can sort of get a clue from the title, but what do you set out to do?
Yeah, so it's a campaign where we are asking national governments to negotiate a global plant-based treaty in response to the climate emergency. We want to see a freeze on the expansion of animal agriculture and the deforestation that comes with it, and a shift to healthy plant-based diets so that we can restore and rewild ecosystems and draw carbon from the atmosphere.
And how's it going so far?
It's going really well. We've been collecting endorsements from individuals, groups, businesses and cities. 18 cities have signed the treaty. 20 MPs have signed an early day motion supporting plant-based treaty. And around 150 councillors up and down the country have signed. Haywards Heath became the first town in Europe to sign on last month. So we're really building some momentum at the moment.
And if you are Haywards Heath and you do sign on, what does it mean? Because you can't commit all your inhabitants and residents to a plant-based diet. You can't ban meat from the shops or close all the chicken shops. So what can you do if you're Haywards Heath and you signed up?
So Haywards Heath has signed up really to signpost that the plant-based treaty exists, and to let the community know that the single biggest action an individual can take to lower their emissions is to adopt a plant-based diet. So they're not forcing anyone. They're not going to be forcing schools or residents to follow anything. They're just signposting there as part of their general climate response, providing education to the public.
Very briefly, why is a plant-based diet, in your opinion, the best policy for the future of the planet? What does it save the planet from, or what does it contribute to the planet's longevity?
Well, one of the things I'm most concerned about at the moment is methane emissions. If we end fossil fuels tomorrow, our food system alone will take us above 1.5 degrees, and we need to cut methane emissions in particular this decade because a third of those emissions come from animal farming.
So when you say methane emissions, this is effectively flatulent cows, is it?
It is. It's hooved animals, so it's cows, goats. But yeah, cows are the main source, so that's our meat and dairy.
Right, and so you're very concerned about these emissions, and
yes.
And so if people was to stop eating meat altogether, and therefore farming cows for meat was to stop immediately, that would make an enormous difference, would it?
It would be massive, and scientists are saying that lowering our methane emissions offers our best hope of limiting temperature rises to 1.5 degrees. So, it's a matter of our future survival that we do this.
And tell me about school meals and whether it's going to be possible to persuade councils to go completely meat-free and plant-based.
So I don't think that many councils actually have the authority to, dictate the school menus. I think that more comes from the national level. But what they can do is, which like Haywards Heath wants to do, is, provide education to schools about food emissions so that they can, make changes themselves and in collaboration with parents and students.
And I mean, as far as you're concerned, do you think parents will be open to the idea of children not being served meat or fish as part of their school dinners? Do you think parents will think that that's okay and the sufficient protein will be available in the diet without meat or fish?
I think as long as the education is provided so that parents understand, that all medical and dietetic associations agree that a vegan diet is adequate for all stages of life, and, if they're, told the health benefits and also told, the link between diet and climate change, and, this is about protecting the future for their children. So I feel like once people do have the information, they will embrace it.
And just checking, you said a vegan diet, so you're not talking even about a vegetarian diet here.
Yes, well, absolutely vegan. Dairy is a major cause of methane, so that definitely needs to be, we need to transition towards our plant-based milks.
Well, thank you very much indeed for telling us about it. It's interesting to hear from you. Nicola Harris there from the Plant-Based Treaty. And now on BBC Radio London's Breakfast Show, it's time for the news headlines, followed by the sport.